840.
Hey Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. A chance of showers and storms tonight with a low of 61, then another slight chance of rain and storms on Wednesday with a high of 80. 30 Bales is a celebration of the best of everything Midwestern cuisine has to offer. Located on the corner of Main Street and 11th Avenue in Hopkins with plenty of free parking. More at 30bales.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, any cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're right, Jaga. This portion of this show is supported by the Native American Community Development Institute in Minneapolis.
Hey, since you've been talking in the right side of that microphone, Haley, you sound like $1 million.
Well, that's what we're going for, so that's good.
Awesome. Hey, it's a Tuesday here, and we love to hear from up in the deep north, as we like to call it, because there's so many strange things happening up there, but also some positive things happening up there. And thinking of positive, we have Nancy Beaulieu of MN350 stopping in and giving us an update in a good way what's happening up in the deep north. Welcome, Nancy. Ho!
Bonjour. Thinking of good things, Robert. I want to share my cup here. It says, do good. Right. And, honestly, that made me think about not just doing good, but being good. You can do something take an action and it looks like you're a good person, but on the other side of things, you're not so good. And it creates a lot of harm. And I think, as Indigenous people, that's not our way. Our way is to uplift each other and support each other in the work that we do, in the spaces that we share. So I want to remind our relatives and even our allies that when we're here in this journey called life, we're supposed to walk with a good heart and show up with good intentions. And if you forget how to do that, you need to step back and do some self-reflection and do a little praying for yourself. And we'll pray for you too. But yeah, I think it's really important that we get back to that, because, we are in a world where there's so many injustices, and we shouldn't fight amongst ourselves. We should be building each other up and getting back to that resiliency we once had, before this colonized system assimilated us and put us in a lot of dark places. So, this is one reason why I do this work, because I believe in us, and we're still here. And I think there's a lot of good work to do. And I'm just, really excited that I can do what I do. And again, for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Nancy Beaulieu. I'm from the Leech Lake Reservation in northern Minnesota, and I've been the northern organizer for Minnesota 350 for just about 6 years. And we are a nonprofit for environmental and racial injustice, and I lead the treaty work at Minnesota 350.
Yes, yes. And what I really like to do, and then I'd like to backtrack a little bit too, because we always have new listeners jumping in their car, especially now we're at 5 o'clock and we're getting people jumping in their car and listening to us in their car. Just to basically what you do and then talk a little bit about treaties. And I've learned from you so much about treaties. I know Ho Chunk signed the 1855 treaty back in the day, and this is like Ho Chunk land, and there's things out there with these treaties that a lot of people don't understand. And what I really learned about from you is that the treaties work both ways.
Right. Treaties intended for us to live in peace. They're treaties of friendship. And there's so many reasons why we have to understand why treaties matter. And that's a big part of, the spaces that we create, or, even breathing life back in those treaties by holding spaces like a sugar bush or, on a pipeline easement. But yeah, treaties, they're very much alive today as the day they were signed. And again, they were meant for friendship and peace, and to leave the earth in a better way than we found it. And, I like to keep to the layman's terms of what those treaties are, because there's so many of them, Robert, and treaties are a mile long, some of them. And what we want people to really think about is just the basic understanding. And if you want to dive in more, you could visit us at Minnesota 350 on our treaty page, and we have a number of resources that they can really do a deep dive and learn more about the treaties and why they're important, even to this day. So again, we're out there reminding people because we don't see it in our history books. Again, it's part of our Treaty 101 awareness. And quite honestly, Robert, I want to share something, talking about, the lack of history and those truths. I actually wrote a piece for our newsletter for the week of July 4th, the United States Independence Day. And I want to share that writing with you guys right now, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. We are the people on the other side of history you don't hear from. In the spirit of America, we must do justice to history. After all, the sovereignty of the United States was gained from signing treaties with indigenous tribes. Indigenous refers to those people with pre-existing inherent sovereignty who were living together as a community prior to the contact with settler populations, most often referred to as the Europeans. Treaties between the federal government and the American Indian tribes set forth the duties and responsibilities of the U.S. government, which they still owe to us to this particular day. And those are in exchange for, land and resources. Treaties protect land boundaries and inherent rights of the indigenous peoples, such as hunting, fishing, gathering, and traveling rights. Treaties also guarantee peace. Today, treaties continue to affirm the inherent sovereignty of American Indian nation enable tribal governments to maintain a nation-to-nation relationship with the United States government to manage their lands, their resources, and economies. And it also protects their people, and it builds a more secure future for generations to come. So again, Robert, it's a shared responsibility, those treaties, and those non-native peoples, their ancestors signed those treaties with our ancestors, and if their house, their business are on these lands, they are still benefiting from those treaties that their ancestors signed with our ancestors. So we're here holding them accountable to those obligations.
Yeah, and I think the more we talk about it, it's really interesting too that I think let me just back up a second. I never learned anything about treaties when I went to school.
Right.
And I've only learned about treaties maybe the last 6 years, one, listening to you, but also, that our native people had all these treaties and then were pushed out of their land anyways. And so it's a real gray zone, but I'm glad that MN350 and especially you, Nancy, have been really revving up and talking treaties. I know we have a few groups that have jumped on lately, but you and MN350 really jumped on it first, and I thought it was brilliant to talk about treaties, and especially when we're dealing with pipelines and such.
Right. And and that's our goal when we talk about Treaty 101 awareness, and when we hold spaces like in the Sugar Bush and on the pipeline and wherever it be in the future, it is our goal to inspire other relatives to assert those treaties, because what good are those treaties if we don't assert them? I mean, honestly, when you take a look at the Sugar Bush, they were ready to go and do a clear cut, and their excuse is, well, nobody's out there sugar bushing. Well, again, that's not our fault. We were assimilated and we were forced into a 40-hour week. We forgot our way. It's not our fault. But, we're reminding ourselves that we're still here along with that culture that defines who we are.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Nancy, really good update on the treaties. I want to talk about what's going up on the Deep North here in the next segment, if you can hold on with us.
Sure, would love to.
Awesome. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake and I'm Woke, we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Attention, Native American community. We've come a long way in our fight against COVID-19. The emergency declaration may be over, but our responsibility to stay vigilant remains. It is crucial to remember that the virus is still among us, and we must continue to prioritize our health and the well-being of our loved ones and elders. Besides getting vaccinated, let's not forget the basics when we're around people who are still vulnerable to COVID-19. Wear your mask, wash your hands regularly, and take an at-home COVID-19 test if you have any symptoms. We've shown incredible strength and resilience throughout history, and we will triumph over this challenge as well. Let's honor our ancestors by taking care of one another and keeping our communities safe. Together, let's navigate uncertain times with courage and unity. Stay informed, stay safe, and remember that our actions today will shape a brighter future for our Native community. Find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Then we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Minnesota 350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Climate justice, that's right. Hey, we're here with Nancy Beaulieu, and I love that tagline, fighting for climate justice. Welcome. We're talking to Nancy. We talked to Nancy a lot we've talked to you a lot over the years, and there's reason to be positive. You got a lot of work going on up there, and in a good way. And I think that's something that I can always count on with you, Nancy, and also, with MN 350 too.
Right. Just in this last week, I had my first opportunity to get back out and table, Robert, and I was went up to Red Lake and for their Independence Day on July 6th, and participated in a parade with the DFL party, reminding them as well that we're all treaty people. And then for the parade, we went down to the powwow and set up a table, why treaties matter. And Robert, it's so inspiring and so empowering to be able to communicate to people who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do. And, a lot of people, think that asserting their rights to hunt, fish, gather, and travel in ceded territory, meaning off the reservation, is a crime, when indeed it's not. Like my good friend Justin Keyser would say, the treaties are constitutional. They're written right in there, Article 6. And so they are supreme law of the land. And as Native folks to these lands, we have every right to, go out, hunt, fish, and gather in ceded territory, just like we did in the sugar bush. And so I think that's important for people to understand that, a big part of what we do is we assert our treaties, and we do it in a positive way. We do it to educate not just our people, but our elected officials and our community members, our allies, and our relatives. And, to Camp Firelight and then the sugar bush, I think we are a fine example of how you can show up and assert those treaties and remind our elected officials, our not so friendly neighbors, that we have a right to exist. We have a right to be who we are.
Yeah, remind people, and I think it's been a couple years now, what Camp Firelight did and what it was about, because I like to come back and get new listeners and remind our other listeners what that was about, because we refer to that once in a while. Can you just give a quick synopsis of that great action?
3 during the construction in the Mississippi wetlands, just close to my reservation here in northern Minnesota, actually in the 1855 treaty territory. Line 3 construction was basically only 7 miles from the headwaters of the Mississippi, and it's really not a good place to put a pipeline underneath a wetland, not anywhere actually. But so what we did is we called on our relatives and our allies to occupy the easement on the Line 3 construction. And our goal was to hold space collectively as allies, Native and non-Native people, and show the rest of the world what it looks like to honor those treaties collectively, peacefully, so we can create a future that we can all thrive in for many generations to come. And the big part about that, Robert, was the Clearwater County Treaty Summit. We did a summit, a one-day summit, and we called on their Clearwater County, the city council, the commissioners, law enforcement. And we basically did a Treaty 101 and reminded them that we have these rights and they're protected under treaty. And these are inherent rights. They didn't give us nothing, Robert. Sometimes they think, go back to your reservation. They think they gave us land or they gave us the rights. And in fact, that's a huge misconception. We gave those colonizers rights and we gave them land in return to be good to us. And so that's why it's important that when we went to Camp Firelight on the Line 3, that we called on our allies and showed what that treaty relationship should look like. And it was 8 days. We had the sheriff from Clearwater County support the camp because, after that treaty summit, he had a clear understanding of, our treaty rights and who we are and how to be a good treaty person. So again, kind of do the same thing here in Beltrami County this fall, and I'm excited about it. So at Camp Firelight, we won our case. I'm one of 3 Anishinaabe defendants that took our case into our own tribal court. And so we proved in our own tribal court at the 1855 Treaty Court that the state of Minnesota lacks subject matter jurisdiction over the Anishinaabe, protecting their natural resources on or off the reservation. And that's really key, that off part, because that's that ceded territory where they think that we need state permits to go hunt, fish, travel, and gather. We don't need any permit. We have those rights. And that's what treaties protect.
Right. And I'm always interested in, and I think sometimes I think about treaties, and I think about the Black Hills land claim by the United States, and then the United States and if you Google that, it has all the treaties that were on there. And 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty, the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, and then also the government wanted to give the Great Sioux Nation money, and it's in the bank, and I think it's up to $1 billion right now, and they never took the money because you can't sell land like that, sacred land.
Right. We don't have property rights, Robert. We don't view property rights as this is my land and everything and anything on it is mine. We have relationship rights, and those are with the plants and the animals. And, we're here in a sacred way, Robert. And again, when this country continues to deny those treaties and that's a violation of, those treaties and our rights. And it's just continued genocide, and you can't put it any other way, Robert. And we shouldn't sugarcoat the facts here. And I think it's time that the United States honors those treaties. And I tell non-native people that really don't want to understand or refuse to understand that they have an obligation, well, I just tell them in a good way, Robert, well, y'all can just build another Mayflower and head on back.
Yeah, and that's no kidding. And I think what's important too is not only are we talking about this, but again, you never hear that. I've never heard this in schools. I vaguely knew what a treaty was. I thought of possibly World War II when I thought of treaties, and that's ridiculous.
Right. And again, this country would not be a sovereign nation without signing those treaties with Native nations. And again, I think this country needs to be awoke itself and understand how this country became, because again, it was out of our trust and our offering of friendship, and they deceived us, and they still continue to do that today. And I think that's why it's more important that we find strength in each other, be good to each other, build community, and find that resiliency and breathe life back into those treaties. And we also not do that amongst ourselves.
Right. And I think the treaties, well, let me just say this. We're still here, and we've been trying to get genocide out of this country so people could take over our land, whether it's with pipelines, whether it's with oil out of the ground or in the air and the minerals and all those things. But we're still here, and I think us talking about this in a good way and educating people, because we're not going anywhere, and we've been here 10,000 years.
Right, right. And again, before it slips my mind, I want to give a shout out to the allies that understand that they too are treaty people, and they are showing up in a good way and having conversations with other non-native people. And again, without the support of our allies and some nonprofits out there like MN350, Sierra Club, Indian Collective, IN, that's Indigenous Environmental Network, and some of our tribes as well, we wouldn't be where we're at right now in the spaces that we hold and the work that we do. And a lot of our work also involves political work and building those relationships with the elected officials and holding their feet to the fire. But, back again, Robert, it's about democracy, and we vote for change. And we've seen that with that trifecta here, in Minnesota. The more we show up, the more candidates that we get on our side, we're going to have the majority vote where it matters. And
Right.
starts, So again, when we're out tabling, Robert, we talk about building our power, not just treaty style, but in the world of voting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's coming up quick again. And, we work with Make Voting a Tradition here on Native Roots Radio, and Rock the Vote Native Style we've done over the years. It's really important, and we need to keep getting our Native people involved. And I just always, and Haley's Gen Zer is just throwing out Gen Zer gets it. And we're really excited and they don't get polled. So you see these polls and everything, and it's like, it's not a real thing because they're not doing polling Gen Zs. They're not polling people like us that look like us. And I just, before we get going here, I just want to give a quick shout out to Alice and give her some she said some really great stuff here and listens to our show. As an ally, it is a massive honor to be a treaty person, and I just want to give her a quick shout out and get healing prayers to Alice too.
Right. She's my Facebook friend, and I'm so excited one day to meet her in person. And again, I want to give a shout out to people just like her that, listen to the show and support the work that we do. And again, if you're willing about to help what we do, you can go to MN350 and donate and be a part of what we do and show up when we ask.
Nancy, we always talk about before the show, we don't have much to talk about, but I know we always do. And thank you so much for coming on and reminding people of us and treaties and where we're at.
Right. We are all treaty people.
Ooh, that was a good. We'll have to sing that next time. Thanks, Nancy Beaulieu of MN350 up in the deep north. Up next, Bob Blake from Red Lake with the Solar Bear with the Solar News. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas will help you get where you want to go. Located in downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality at Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas. Apply today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Even though the public COVID-19 emergency might be over, it's still important to stay up to date on vaccinations. And if you're like most people, you probably need a refresher on who should get vaccinated and when. So here's the bottom line. If you're 6 years or older, aim for that one updated COVID-19 vaccine. It doesn't matter if you've had a previous vaccine or not. You're still in the game. Now, if you're 65 or older, you've got the green light for one extra dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Just wait 4 months after your first updated dose, and you're good to go. And for the little ones, children between 6 months and 5 years may need multiple doses, including at least one of the updated vaccines, based on their age and previous doses. Remember, always stay informed and reach out to healthcare professionals for personalized guidance. Didn't catch all of that? You can find all of the updated COVID vaccine information at health.state.mn.us. That's health.state.mn.us.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
We have survived many traumas.
We are awake. Our eyes, spirit, and hearts are open.
Now is the time to clean up our thinking, our treatment of others, most of all, our treatment of ourselves.
We need to learn about genocide, trauma, enrollment policies, lateral violence, boarding schools, rape introduced to us through colonization.
Some of us believe these lies.
Because to oppose them would be fatal.
There is much healing needed.
We need to be a part of helping to heal our nations.
Today, I promise myself to not hurt anyone with my thoughts, my feelings, my words, or my actions.
I know I can only control myself.
I will get help when I need it.
I will take good care of me.
For when I do,
I and the resistance.
I am the prayers of my ancestors, and now I am the resilience manifesting into the light of today.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Summer is going fast, but Next Chapter Booksellers has everything you need to keep up with your summer reading. From the hottest new titles to timeless classics, Next Chapter Booksellers has something for any taste. Their friendly staff are great at making recommendations for the perfect summer read for you or your loved ones. Plus, Next Chapter Booksellers has a wide variety of puzzles and games for those rainy days. So keep up with your summer reading at Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. A chance of showers and storms tonight with a low of 61, then another slight chance of rain and storms on Wednesday with a high of 80.
If you've been waiting to replace those appliances, don't miss Warner Stellian's lowest prices of the season. Score instant savings, then up to 10% off, and a bonus for each additional appliance you buy. Put us to the test at warnerstellian.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, they do. Hey, we have on the phone Robert Blake, and with the Solar Bear with the Solar News. Robert, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Robert? How's it going?
It's going great, and I hear rumors you're outside ready to get a happy haircut. Is that true?
Yeah, you got me going into my haircut place. I know.
Yeah. Well,
but you know what, Robert? I was just thinking about, because I'm out here at the mall, and I'm starting to see just more and more like electric vehicles driving around, and I'm also seeing like some of these malls are putting renewable energy on top of their roofs, solar. Yeah,
and I'm seeing those charging stations too all over the place now too.
Yeah, I'm over by one right now, and I'm looking at it right now, and it's Charge Point. I can read it. It's Charge Point.
Wow.
But I mean, can you imagine, Robert, like where all this is going to be? Like, let's just say in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's really becoming mainstream, and it's becoming a part of our lives. And I don't think anyone could have seen how the public has taken hold or like acceptance of renewable energy, electric vehicles, charging stations. You know what I mean? Like it's just happening.
I got a quick question in those lines, and we've never really talked about this, but with all the AI stuff, how much faster is that going to help renewable?
That's a good question. And what's happening right now is there's there are groups being put together that are going to tackle these kinds of questions about, what kind of agreements, what kind of treaties, what kind of, I guess way of like looking at, how AI is going to be kind of rolled out, right? Like how are countries going to deal with this, and then what kind of agreements can they make now, about artificial intelligence and how this is going to be implemented in our society, right? Because this is it's like scary, but then it's like this is just all a part of our evolution as a society, right?
Right. And let's use this for the good of the world and mankind, and not end up like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Oh,
right. Yeah. Yeah. What is that called? Netscape or whatever? Like, I forgot what it was called again. I forget my Terminator terminology right now.
I think the first Terminator. Right. Exactly. And, and I'm just... Well, I just typed in a certain degree, a certain website, free website. I said native radio show intro, and it popped out. I want to say 400 words in 2 seconds, and literally, I could have read that.
Yeah, Robert, you were a teacher. Like, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you were a public school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine, Robert, now these students being able to put in this chat GPT, write up papers, and then turning them in? I mean, are educators going to be able to, like, you know, understand, like, this wasn't their work, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, those kinds of things. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But,
I would have got straight A's is all I know, or A pluses if they were giving them out. What the heck?
Right? I mean, it's just crazy to think about. And it, I as we go further and further into this, artificial intelligence is going to be a big part of renewable energy and how it's being distributed, where it's going to be used at. There's going to be a home that say they're just going to be watching a TV, so they're going to have an excess supply of energy there, and it's just going to be redistributed over across the block to the school that's hosting the evening high school basketball game.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, artificial intelligence is going to do that, and it's going to make our grid a lot smarter, a lot more reliable. But, with I think those benefits are going to come this negative piece where, are we teaching it to, like, think for itself? You know what I mean? Are we, that's what I think people are scared of. Is it
Right.
going to become self-autonomous? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to start, thinking for itself and,
Right.
and like you said, do the whole Terminator thing?
Right. And that's already happened. And I guess I don't want to get deep into this. We'll have to do our own AI show soon, Robert. But I have heard reports, whether it was on 60 Minutes, that they are starting to rationalize and think for themselves. So it's already happening. It's a matter of watching it and controlling it. And I don't know if the genie's out of the bottle now, but I do believe using this in a good way is really going to help, like you said, renewable energy.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's always the yin and there's always the yang, right? You've got the good and there's always the bad.
Right.
The problem that I see in this is that if we're already having hackers break into our computer systems already, what's that going to look like if we have artificial intelligence, being the gatekeeper, but then also being able to infiltrate other systems? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm kind of like drawing the line at. Like, I think that we need to have agreements between countries, between governments. We need to have agreements between, let's be honest, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
like these people need to have some type of, rules to the game, because if they don't, then, like you said, the genie gets out of the bottle and we're it's blasting off nuclear weapons, across the entire planet, because they think that the artificial intelligence thinks that we're gonna, commit equal suicide.
Right.
Which in some respects we're doing. You know what I mean? With our way of life.
Absolutely. And to get in deeper too, there's people were shooting off fireworks, and there was a big fire here, and because everything's so dry, and because we had flooding in the beginning of spring, and now I can count on one hand how many times it's rained a little bit since then, and everything's dry. And so we need to really become more proactive. And like you said earlier in the show, people are jumping onto it. I remember, what was it, 2 years ago, Robert, that the Ford F-110 went sold out immediately for the new electric cars. Well, we needed the manufacturers and the government to support this, to get more of that out there and bring the price down too.
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. And I think that right there brings me up to like some great stories here that are currently happening, around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And nationwide electric vehicle charging infrastructure is designed to meet 30 to 42 million light duty electric vehicles by 2030. Think about that,
Wow.
Robert.
Wow.
42 million electric vehicles the infrastructure is now being set up across this country to meet 42 million electric vehicles by 2030.
Wow. That's awesome. And that's quick. That's going to be soon.
Yeah. And I mean, and here's another interesting fact too, Robert. The fastest growing jobs are in the renewable energy industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's crazy to think about. That it's outpacing. It's outpacing the fossil fuel industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's outpacing healthcare. I mean, this is how fast. This is what the Inflation Reduction Act did. I mean, we're already on a trajectory to make this transition anyways, right?
Right.
But with the Inflation Reduction Act and the Biden administration implementing this piece of legislation has put this industry on steroids, and it is just taking over the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
With jobs, manufacturing, Robert, is now coming back to the shores of the United States. Manufacturing jobs are at an all-time high now also.
Yes.
That are being driven by the renewable energy industry.
That it deserves a big round of applause, because this is the new generation of energy and a new paradigm shift in the economy too.
Yeah, and it's incredible because even the big unions, right? The United Auto Workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are looking at this year's contract negotiations as a really, really important opportunity, to ensure that they have representation, for future electric vehicle jobs. They weren't worried about electric vehicles a couple of years ago, Robert.
Right. Yeah.
But now the United Auto Workers, Robert, the United Auto Workers, one of the biggest unions, one of the, they are a staple of this country, are ensuring that in this next year's negotiation that they have a place and they are going to be negotiating around the table the future of electric vehicles. They're not just worried about their workers. They're worried about where is this industry going and how are we going to keep our people, in it and relevant, right?
Yeah.
I just think that's incredible. That before it was just about having a job. Now it's about, okay, how do we keep these electric vehicles continuously being made? How do we continue to source the materials that are going to be used for these vehicles? And then how do we keep on, being relevant and being a part of this industry?
Robert,
that's going gangbusters right now.
Let's take a quick break. We know we have more news from the Solar Bear with the Solar Bear News, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Your Blue Line Extension project wants to hear from you. We are working on extending the Blue Line light rail into North Minneapolis, Robbinsdale, Crystal, and Brooklyn Park and connecting it to our growing transit system. Tell us about your neighborhood, your business, your family, and what you need from your Blue Line. Learn more and share more of your story at yourblueline.org. That's yourblueline.org.
Hey, this is Robert Pilot. I taught in St. Paul Public Schools for over 25 years, and I want you to join the team and make a difference in our children's future. Right now, St. Paul Public Schools is offering hiring and retention bonuses up to $10,000 for a variety of teaching and classroom support positions for the next school year. Grow in a supportive and fulfilling public school setting. Limited bonuses are available, so don't delay. Apply at spps.org/careers. Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
I heard I heard Robert Blake. He's getting fired up for his haircut. His howling haircut coming up there. Hey, we're this Native Roots Radio, and here we're with Robert Blake of the Solar Bear with the Solar News, and we've been talking about some really positive things here. Robert, just let me know when you have to go. I see it's 10 till 6, and I know you have a 6:05 appointment. We don't want you to miss that.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, can I just give you the statistics though on these jobs and all these things happening real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to read out some statistics to you. Okay. The energy sector added 300,000 jobs this last year, 7.8 million total energy jobs in 2021 to over 8.1 million in 2022. Now, through the energy sector was deeply impacted by COVID-19, it's recovered 71% of the jobs lost in 2020. That's huge, Robert.
Wow.
That just goes to show how resilient the renewable energy sector is being right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the technologies, right? So we're talking about wind. Wind is up 20%. Grid modernization is up 12%. Hydrogen fuel vehicles, Robert, is up 25%.
Whoa.
Natural gas vehicles are up 14%, and plug-in hybrid vehicles are up 10%. Employers across all technologies are optimistic about the growth from 2022 to 2023. Now, real quickly, the clean energy technologies are making significant strides. So this is like solar, wind, all that. It's 80% of new electric power generation jobs, adding 22,279 jobs, up 3.6%. Clean energy jobs, Robert, increased in every state, 3.8% nationally. So meaning even in Republican states, everybody, jobs are up in clean energy, 3.8%. Can we get Republicans on board, Robert, for this? We are putting American people to work in the clean energy industry.
Yeah.
Battery electric vehicles increased by 29,000 jobs. Clean vehicles accounted for 59% of all new jobs in the motor vehicle industry, Robert. In the motor vehicle industry, 59%. The future of energy industry is for everyone. The number of women working increased by 150,000. 150,000 women are now working in the clean energy industry, Robert. That is up from 2022.
Dang.
A quarter of the energy workforce are non-white workers. So BIPOCs are representing 23% of the energy workforce. Veterans are making of a 9% of the new energy workforce, up 5%. And energy employees is employing American unions. Get this, Robert. This is my last statistic. I'm telling you, union employers are more than twice as likely than non-union employees, 46 to 22%, respectively. And it is more diverse with LGBTQ hires in transmission and distribution and solar. The percentage of workers represented by union are covered under our collective bargaining agreement is up 11%, over 1.5 times the rate of the private sector.
Wow.
That means that energy is taking care of union and organized labor. Everyone. That's what that is saying. These statistics are on the Department of Energy website. You can go ahead and take a look at it. The solar bear is not making these statistics up, everyone. You can go and take a look at them, and they're all for you to read and see. And it's just incredible, Robert, where this industry is headed, where this is going. And, you know, we just need to continue to push this. All of us need to get behind. We need to elect officials that are going to represent the people and think about the future, the next 7 generations, like representatives like you, Robert, because you are an elected official and you're representing your community, your nation, and we need to elect people like you, Robert.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just want to give you, I know you got to get going. I just want to give you a quick shout out too of all the work you're doing in Indian country, and especially here, I mean, all over, but I know of a couple projects that you're doing here in Minnesota with a couple tribes, and I don't know how much you can talk about it, but I do know that, and other people are watching what you're doing here for in a good way for our communities out here. So I just got to give you a big ho.
Well, I want to say to everybody, Solar Bear just finished up the McGeezy project. It's on Lake Street, right across the street there from the cemetery, Lake and Cedar. It's the new McGeezy building. They're gonna have an open house in October, but the solar project is done. You can drive by it. It looks beautiful.
Wow.
I'm so proud of that project and all the work that McGeezy does with the Native community and the kids. They do such a wonderful job. And we were just really happy to be a part of that whole thing, and send a big shout out to Kelly Drummer and all the great work that she does there with her staff over there. Absolutely. They do a wonderful job with the kids in the community.
And I just got to say this real quick about McGeezy. McGeezy's been around for a long time, and they started as a way for college students to learn mass media, whether they were on TV or the radio and the news, and they've been just growing and been around. They've been around since the 70s, Robert.
I know, that's incredible. And I was just really proud and thankful that Kelly asked me to be a part of this project in their new building, because their old building got burnt down during the civil unrest, you know?
Yeah.
And so this building is beautiful. They did a wonderful job there, and the kids are really going to be, they're just going to be loving this building, Robert. And I was just really happy to be a part of it, to be a part of what they're doing there with the community, and super excited. Also, I should say real quickly, Solar Bear just finished up another project up in Red Lake Nation at the OG Center. That center right there is there to be able to serve the elderly population in the community. And that was Sherry Goodwin and all the wonderful work she did there, and all the wonderful work she does in the community too. So a couple of big shout outs there to Sherry and Kelly Drummer. They're doing such wonderful work in our community, Robert.
Absolutely. And it takes a tribe, it takes a village. And I want to say again, Peony Gigi for helping out these organizations and always coming on in a positive way here on Native Roots Radio and giving these news flashes. I feel like we've grown along with you and along with the solar community are all around the same time.
Well, I just want to say too, Robert, that you've helped Solar Bear grow. You've helped Native Sun grow. And I mean, I owe a lot of my success and a lot of the things that I've been able to do, Robert, to you. And you've been just like a big brother to me. You're my big brother's one of his best friends growing up. So you know, that's the reason that that I'm around you. So be good, Robert. It's just the best to be around you and have you be in my life.
Great point. And then we have to make a trip again to the next presidential Native Presidential Caucus and do it up. So thanks again, Robert. Go get a haircut. Really appreciate you and what you do for the community and for Mother Earth, really.
And that's the solar news with the solar bear.
Right on, Robert. We'll speak to you soon, and have a great day. We don't say goodbye on our way. Hey.
Later.
That's awesome. Hey, awesome show again, Haley. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you're feeling better. I know you're a little down, but I appreciate you so much being here with me and running the background and setting up all these shows. I couldn't do the show without you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm feeling much better now, getting to hear from our friends Nancy and Bob and hearing all the great work that they're doing in the community.
We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier now.
You hear a lot about Rudy Luther Toyota's hybrid cars, but maybe you're asking yourself, are they worth it?